Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Club Junkie podcast. Another week down, or pretty close to it, and another Thursday morning. So let's get into another episode. It's crazy to think these weeks are flying by. I feel like I just recorded yesterday, but I didn't. Before we get going, just want to let you know this episode brought to you by Titleist Pro V1. Put it upside down. Pro V1 and Pro V1X golf balls. The number one ball in golf, Titleist Pro V1 and Pro V1X have been that way for years and years and years. Great balls that were designed from the cover down to the core with new softer cast urethane elastomer covers, faster casing layers, reformulated cores, and dimple patterns that are specific to each ball. So if you're looking for something that flies a little lower off the driver, spins a little less from on the top end of the bag, look at the Pro V1. If you're looking for something that maybe feels a little firmer, flies just a little bit higher, and has just a little bit more spin with the driver and the top end of the bag, Pro V1X. Either one, though, can't go wrong. So if you go to Titleist.com, check out the Pro V1, Pro V1X for yourself. And if you haven't tried a Pro V1 or Pro V1X in a while, you should do so. So, excuse me. I am back. I was actually out in California all this week, beginning of this week. I got home yesterday, Tuesday. I can't remember what days it is. I flew out Saturday. I was out in Palm Springs. I was fortunate enough to be asked by Fujikura to come check out their event to launch the brand new Ventus TR, which we'll talk about here in a minute. And then I also, thanks to them, went out to the first day, the Monday of the American Express, and hung out and got to see what goes on the old tour trailers, how Fuji kind of handles putting shafts on trucks and things like that, and it was a pretty fun time. I had a good time. Definitely had some fun times with the guys at Fuji, and then everybody else at the event. It was just overall just a fun time. So that, and got to hit brand new clubs or brand new shafts, which is always a good time. So yeah, I was out there, played a little bit as well. Got to play at Mission Hills, so I got to play the Pete Dye course there. Really interesting. It was really fun. It was very interesting. I got to play with Mike from Golfholics, who's just an awesome guy, super nice. But him and I played together and had a blast. I played well in the beginning. Probably put a decent front nine, and then maybe a couple holes after that played pretty decent, and then the wheels just fell off. And I think part of it was just, I've played since basically October of last year. I think I've played one round, and I've gone to the range one time so I think part of it was just pounding balls in the range, and then going to play. The hands were starting to get a little, the calluses aren't quite broken in, so the hands were getting a little worn. And then I think just, not hitting that many balls. I think it just took it out of me. I think I just ran out of gas near the end of the round, and the short game is what really killed me. I mean, I hit some good drives, I hit some good shots, but if I missed the green at all, my wedge game was just atrocious. The way the grass goes dormant and everything's, the fairways and greens are I'm pretty sure painted, and they're painted green. Everything around it's brown, but around the greens, it was just like it was like a soft sandy dirt, kind of covered by this grass that looked like it was going to kind of snag the club or whatever, and it didn't. You just blew right through it. But I just, for whatever reason, it just was different. Like the club, the wedge just didn't interact the same when you got it into the turf. And I caught a lot of things. I chunked a lot of shots, and then just left a lot of things short. And it just, I don't know. It just wasn't my day. The short game wasn't there. Still had a lot of fun though. And like I said, got to play with Mike, and we had a blast. And even not playing him, very amazing golf. Still able to have a good time. But the course out there is beautiful. The weather was awesome. I mean, I'd never been to Palm Springs before, so that was great. And we basically got. And it was a long day. We got on the range at like 8 a.m. and just started hitting balls and messing around with Ventus TR and kind of getting the lowdown on what was new. And then after hitting a bunch of balls, we went and had lunch, and then went back to the range for a little bit, got warmed back up, and then went out to the course. So it was definitely a busy day. But like I said, it was a lot of fun. It was beautiful. All the, like I said, big thanks to all the boys and ladies at Fujikura who put that together and were nice enougve to invite me because we had a great time, and they put on first-rate launch event, which was pretty cool. So we did that, and then then the Monday. So that was Sunday. We flew out Saturday. So Sunday we played golf, did the launch event, and then Monday went over to the American Express over at PGA West, the stadium course, and hung around, walked around all day. It was pretty cool. Got to see a lot of stuff. Got to pop my head into a few trailers, see some people that I'd known before, and things like that. And then even was walking out on the range with some of the boys, and basically almost running into Harry Higgs. He walked by me, getting to go get balls and start hitting his range session. So it was pretty fun. Got to meet a lot of new people as well. But just overall a great time. So like I said, big thank you to Fuji. And what you want to know really is, let me grab it off the wall, the new Ventus TR. Grab it off the old shaft rack over here. The new Ventus TR is the new Ventus. I think everybody was wondering, is it going to be called Ventus 2.0? Is it going to be, what is it going to be? And we finally now have an answer. And the sad thing for me is that I had an answer a long time ago. I just I couldn't say anything, but I knew it was going to be Ventus TR a while ago. I'm trying to lock this thing up here. It's not going to work. Anyways, as some of you know, I do record this thing on YouTube, and I try to put products up here that so people can see them. But this Ventus just wants to not stay in place. There we go. So anyway, so the funny thing is, the funny story before I get into Ventus TR was I was fortunately out in Carlsbad back in November. And I went out there for a couple reasons, but I went out there for to see the guys at Fujikura, do some stuff over there, and also to do the TaylorMade Stealth launch. Those both things were going on when I went out there at the end of November. So I went out there and spent a few days at TaylorMade, went over, spent a couple days with Fuji, and they had this shaft, or they had a shaft. So they had this thing, and I went out to dinner with the guys, and they were like, man, I really hope... we kind of got this shaft, and they were kind of giving me the lowdown about it, knowing that I couldn't say anything. And they were actually hoping to get the graphics package in that day, and I guess it didn't show up. So the next day, I was at Fujikura's headquarters. I think Marshall and I did a little video on Enzo. Spencer Reynolds and I did a video on Speeder NX and the variable torque VTC that they do now with that. And what showed up from the UPS was the labels for this shaft. Like, the label showed up, the graphics package, like these kind of stickers on here are put on, and then they're clear coated on and all that. But they are pieces of graphics, and they showed up that day. So they were painting them as I was kind of recording videos and doing some content stuff around there. They were actually painting the first batch of Ventus TRs in the actual graphics that you now see today. And I actually got to hit probably the first painted one ever. They were painted, somebody in the back, I don't know if it was Marshall who glued them up, and I actually got to hit the first, what now looks like retail one, here. I got to hit basically the first painted one that they made, which was pretty cool. And it was pretty funny that I heard people... overheard people talking, and what is it going to be, and is it going to be Ventus whatever? And I think a lot of people thought this was going to be an iron shaft and all these different things, and it was just kind of funny to chuckle to myself knowing that I'd already hit it. And again, same thing. People were kind of discussing, what is it going to be? Is it a Ventus 2 replacement? Is it a something different? Where is it going to go? And for like 3 months, or 2.5 months, I've pretty much known exactly what it was going to be, which is pretty funny, but it's cool. And like I said, it's amazing to have a relationship with those guys where that is the case, where I'm there for, doing some video and some other stuff. And they were, kind enough to let me hit the new product and also trust me enough to not say anything. And I didn't say anything, and it was pretty cool. So here it is, the Ventus TR. It's been kind of 3 years in the making in a sense. The original Ventuses are about 3 years old. They are not going anywhere. Ventus black, blue, and red, all staying in the line, all going to be current product. This is not replacing Ventus Blue. It is a alternative or an additional product to go into the line. So the big thing here is basically they've used some of the variable torque, the VTC technology they used in Speeder NX. Used a bunch of Enzo, calculating. And if you don't know what Enzo, if you go out to Carlsbad, where Fujikura's headquarters is, they have this huge room where they have a launch monitor and a net or a screen, all this stuff. They have like GC Quad, all this. But they also, if you look around the room, have a ton of like these cameras, high-speed cameras. And what they do is they take a shaft and they place some dots all over it, and then they hit balls, and they really analyze what the club head, the shaft, and everything are doing during the swing. And as they analyze it, they can kind of see where does the shaft twist, where does it bend, where does it flex, all these different things, and then they can basically model new shafts based on that information. And taking all the information that they had, Ventus TR is new, the blue Ventus TR. So basically the big story with it, other than, it still has velo core, still has that in the tip section. That's not going anywhere. That's the bread and butter of Ventus. That's why it is so, these shafts have been so consistent and so popular with all these players. But they also, too, found that up kind of just below, in the handle section, kind of below the grip area, there was a lot of stress that went in high in the shaft here, kind of like I said, right underneath the grip, or where the grip ends, kind of right around there. There was a lot of stress that goes on there, and there was a lot of twisting and some movement there that originally, I guess, they weren't aware of until, using Enzo and finding these things out. So they went through and stiffened that section up, and they used basically a brand new, what they call spread toe fabric, which is a form of graphite that is, basically used to increase torsional stiffness, and it's super lightweight. So what they're trying to do is not make this thing crazy counterbalanced while still reinforcing this section that they found that, could use some help to add some stability. So the biggest thing is going in there, changing that. And then a little bit of the profile has changed just slightly. It's not just a blue with an extra wrap of carbon. The profile does change just slightly, even down near the kind of the tip section. They did change it just a little bit. So basically, you're looking at a Ventus blue with a little stiffer handle section, and then the mid section is tweaked just a little bit. But it is, like I said, an additional piece. It's not replacing blue. Blue's not going anywhere. If you love the Ventus blue, you're going to still be able to buy it from your authorized retailer, or go to whoever you order your custom clubs through, or whatever, those OEMs. You're going to have Ventus blue. And the same thing, black and red aren't going anywhere either. So the blue is, that. And when I first got to hit it back in November, the first couple swings, they didn't tell me anything about it. They just said this is a version of the new Ventus, because I hit the all black prototype, not painted anything, one first, and and hitting it. The first thing I thought, like as soon as I hit it, was like, this definitely has a stiffer handle section to it. Like I said something to the guys, and they didn't really confirm or deny or anything. They just kind of okay, like just kind of let me go. And I was just like, it definitely has a stiffer handle section. It almost feels a little more like Ventus Black, just that profile. And they kind of just nodded their heads and okay, whatever, and just kind of let me go. But excuse me. But yeah, it was. But with the first swings, like I said, back then I could definitely tell a little stouter profile, a little stiffer in the handle section, and I was hitting it into a net. So GC Quad was there, but we were just kind of really more just hitting some balls. And but I said like the feel is definitely smooth, but it's just it's a little more stiffer than say a Ventus Blue. It kind of felt like a Ventus Black. So fast forward to this weekend and actually getting out on the range, on the course, getting to hit it, to see actual ball flight was pretty big. So we went out there, like I said, we were at Mission Hills, and I got to hit a bunch of balls in the range with a bunch of different heads. It was kind of cool. There were a bunch of people there. So my boy Andrew Tursky was there. He had brought a stealth head along with, what else did he have? His Sim 2 Max, which he was playing. I brought my Sim 2 Max. Johnny Wonder was there. He had a Rogue ST Triple Diamond LS head. And then somebody else had like a TSI 3. There were a bunch of different heads kind of just floating around the range. So I hit a couple different heads in this shaft, which was pretty nice to get just a little different feel for each head. And I do have to say the biggest thing I noticed is, again, stiffer profile. When you go and hit it, it's not going to have that same... It's not going to feel like it has the same liveliness as Ventus Blue. And I think a lot of that is the stiffer handle. It just feels really tight. Like it's just one of those things where if you go after it, if you take a nice easy swing, whatever, you're never going to feel like you're kind of losing the shot or anything's, adding a little draw, anything like that. It's definitely got a stiffer profile. I think players who like to feel the black, but they fit into blue, this could be a great, kind of compromise or in the middle shaft for you. The other thing too, it was hitting it. It's not as easy to turn over as blue. Blue, at least for me, having like kind of a quick, crappy tempo and, hitting blue, which got a little softer handle section, I always felt like every once in a while, I could kind of get it to go left or it turned over kind of easy. This definitely doesn't. It definitely hits a straighter ball. And the launch on it, a little bit lower than blue. I think it's a little flatter than blue, and it probably spins a little less as well. We had some TrackMans out there. Some people were hitting on them. I never went down there to hit on them, mostly because I was just literally pounding balls on the other side of the range or on the left side of the range when everything was on the right. And I honestly didn't bring like a Ventus Blue to play in it, and that was only because when they built these, they kind of asked like, "What driver are you bringing?" And at the time, my stealth or the stealth head hadn't come in yet, or I just got the Rogue ST after they asked, so I was basically like, I'm bringing my Sim 2 Max, just because that's the head I had, and I knew I could, I knew it was here, and I knew I could bring it. I wasn't counting on waiting anything to ship in, so I was like, I'm taking it. I could have brought a Rogue ST or something else, but it kind of came late, and I didn't want to kind of rush and ask these guys to change what tip or what driver I needed. So I had my Sim 2 Max, so I hit it in that. And Sim 2 Max, blue versus Ventus TR or blue versus blue TR. Like I said, biggest thing, launch is a little flatter, a little harder to turn over, seems like it spins less. And for me, wanted to hit nothing but a straight ball, maybe a little bit of fade, which to me, honestly, I never really have to worry about the right side. I could actually kind of hit a little bit of a fade with this thing. But it definitely flew flatter and definitely spun a little less. And again, in my Sim 2 Max head, I was pretty much playing Ventus Black to counteract the fact that head launched high and had some spin to it. So when I put this in there, it kind of was an easy transition. The launch, a little bit higher, not much at all, and definitely, had the same consistency and stability in that head as I had, playing black. So I think that's really nice. The other thing this thing could be great for is guys who play black in a fairway didn't necessarily love blue and red launch too high. I think this thing fits in that perfect. Just kind of that mid launch, low spin would be great for a person who plays black in the driver, wants something a little easier to launch off the deck. There you go, perfect. Like I said, the profile is going to, I think, match fairly well. But it just is. It's a really smooth shaft. It's extremely consistent. The swing you put on it is is where the ball's going to go. There's no, softness or extra flex or anything like that. If you hit it straight, it went straight. If you hit, a little draw, it would draw. Like when I played with the guy I played with, Mike, I think on the front nine he hit every fairway. I think he hit every fairway. If he did, he maybe missed one by like an inch, but I think he hit every fairway in the front nine. On the back nine, he kind of fell apart a little bit as well, but he still drove the ball really well. I want to say it's like he hit like 9 out of 13 fairways or something crazy. He drove it so well, and he was a guy who played Ventus previously and now playing this. He was just like, this is in the bag instantly. And I was like, you know what, this thing is pretty darn good. I'm probably going to put it in the bag as well. And especially because like I said, Tursky brought a stealth head on the range, and it was a standard stealth 9-degree head, and I was hitting it with this and actually hitting it really well. I didn't think I would be able to hit it high enough. I thought that was going to be just too flat of launching, and it wasn't. This thing gets, like I said, ball up in the air pretty easily. Fuji labels it as mid-launching. I think for most players it would. For me, I consider it just a hair under that. I'll call it mid-low, even though it's probably closer to mid. But like I said, very little spin. When we played, there wasn't a ton of wind, but we played a couple holes into the wind and just, zero rise, ball just penetrating flat through the air, and everything hit and rolled. Nothing, jumped up, fell to the earth and just stopped. But it feels really smooth. It doesn't have any, harsh vibration to it. Even at impact, everything's pretty muted, pretty soft, pretty smooth. And, definitely compared to black, you can feel this load a little more. It's just, it's just easier to feel. And overall, just super impressed with it. So I hit some pretty good drives. I think this thing with Sim 2 max is kind of like, it's okay. I'm really excited to hit it in stealth. Like I said, on the range, I was killing the stealth with this head in there, or the shaft in there. The Rogue ST I hit pretty well as well, but it wasn't quite as good. And I think that was just it was a lower lofted head. I think it was a 9-degree head where that's what Johnny had. And if I had a 10.5, I think it would have worked really well. But the 9-degree stealth head really worked well with this, is at least for me hitting it on the range. So I'm pretty excited to try that combo. And then I'm pretty excited to try this in the new Cobra driver as well, because I did a fitting there for the Cobra, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But I got fit into Ventus Blue, and I hit it pretty well, and the launch numbers and everything were good. So I'm pretty excited to see if this maybe could be even more an improvement in terms of stability, accuracy on those mishits, keeping the ball in play. So we'll see how that goes. But this thing really did it did go really well. I was really impressed with with how well it plays. I think it's one of those things where a lot of people were worried about Fujikura screwing up the next Ventus because the first one was so good. They definitely didn't screw it up. They really did a good job here. And I think they knew, that they couldn't just, throw out anything. Like, it had to be a really viable, good shaft. And they definitely built one here. So the Ventus Blue TR, it is really good. I really like it. If you're somebody who's looking for something and you're kind of in between blue and black, I think this is a home run. I think it's a perfect shaft to try if you're in between those two. If you're a player who plays black in the driver, needs something for a fairway wood that launches just a little bit higher, but you don't want to add a ton of spin, and you kind of want that same stiff handle profile, I think this is another, again, great option. And then the other thing too is, I had a great question on my Instagram at Club Junkie Pod yesterday when I was doing questions, and one of them was, is Ventus TR only made for high swing speed players? And it's not. Like, it really isn't. They'll make everything from a 50-gram R2, which is a light, a below a regular flex, so call it light flex, senior flex, whatever you want to call it. They make that in 50 grams all the way up to 80-gram X's. So they're going to have a pretty wide wide range of players that'll fit into this shaft. And no, it's not built for just people who swing it, 120 miles an hour. If you're a mortal and swing it, average like everybody else, there's a version of the shaft that works for you. So definitely, it'll be, I think, in your fitter shops 2-1, but the launch happened out on tour and here, and it was funny on tour. It seemed like there were a lot of interest, and we were walking around with the Fuji guys. I think there were like 1 or 2 on Monday already that were basically like one or two that were going in play, and they were tossing a bunch on each truck, and they were kind of going through, going, oh, these guys need some more 7Xs, and somebody over here needs a 6X, and I mean, there was definitely some interest with it, and there were a couple other players that they were building parts for that we'll be trying it either later this week or tried it this week, or in the coming weeks we'll definitely be trying more and more of these. So it'll be interesting to see how many go out on tour. Like I said, I think there'll be a good amount just because of the way it plays and kind of in between black and blue. I think you're going to get a lot of players who will add this thing to the bag. Like I said, especially with some of the bigger hitters, tossing in a fairway wood or something like that would be pretty cool. But the Ventus TR, I was super impressed with. I really like it. It's definitely going to get a shot in, like I said, my stealth head, the Cobra heads. I mean, I'm going to try to get in the Rogue ST because I got a 10.5 head here, so I want to definitely try it in that. But I want to see how it plays in some other heads, so I will definitely be doing that. And like I said, when you get a chance, go out and try it. I think it definitely is a great addition to the line. And, if you're somebody who loves the original Ventuses, cool, they're still there, but looking for something a little different. And, like I said, if you're looking for something that was just a little bit in between, I think they nailed hit the nail right on the head. So the Ventus TR, here it is, Fujikura. And, yes, I am wearing a Ventus TR hat because they did give me a hat. Somebody in my Instagram was like, "Hey, nice hat," and I was like, "Hey, thanks. It's a cool little TR hat." But and it's subtle too. Like the graphic part of it, you can actually see that that spread toe fabric, like where the Ventus logo is, like kind of the silverish logo out in the sun. You'll actually see kind of the diamond weave of it in there. Kind of reminds me a little of the old Fujikura Blur series. But that's kind of in that handle section. In the light, you can see it. And then it is blue, but it's not the exact same blue as the last year's Ventus. It definitely has a little more metal flake in it. You probably don't see it indoors or here, but when you actually have it outside, you'll definitely see some more metal flake to it, and then the handle kind of fades to black. So it's a pretty subtle look. If you didn't mind looking at Ventus, this hasn't changed. The big thing is, like I said, you can see that spread toe fabric in the underneath the grip, and it's got the little gold TR badge. So other than that, it looks like a Ventus. So don't have to worry about them going crazy even with graphics or anything like that. But it is a great shaft that I think is definitely worth trying. All right, so second part of the show, getting right into it, is going to be Cobra Drivers. Cobra launch was yesterday, and Cobra came out with brand new everything. You got irons, hybrids, fairways, and drivers. And it was pretty interesting to talk to sit through a lot of the presentations with the Cobra guys. I was out there. I want to say it was it beginning of January, something like that. It was either like beginning of January, end of December, something like that. I can't remember exactly what day I was out there, but I was out there and I got to check out all the new Cobra drivers. I was out there for the whole launch. I was out there for the Bryson and Kyle Berkshire show when those guys were out pounding balls out on the range and trying to set new personal records and all that stuff. I was there. I was checking that out. And it was pretty wild to see. I mean, those two guys absolutely mashed the ball. It's absolutely crazy how hard and far they hit it. But we got to go out there and check out all the new stuff, which was pretty awesome. And then we also did driver fittings while out there, which was pretty fun. So I think look-wise, I mean, just starting from a look standpoint, I think that they look really good. I really like the fact that Cobra got rid of the infinity face, the milling. So they had face milling that went like up over the top of the crown, and then it went below and went on the toe. It was basically the whole face and everything was this milling, which the milling portion of I get. It's to basically ensure the face is as thin as it needs to be or as thick as it needs to be all over the face. It makes it extremely consistent, and it also adds their version of kind of a modified face for when you miss balls or miss shots, high toe, low heel. That ball can a little bit easier find the fairway or bend back into the fairway, anything like that. My shaft is rolling away from me here. Yeah. So they had so the face no longer goes up on top of the crown, which unfortunately for anybody who has skied a driver recently, which I've actually done sooner than I care to admit, or more recent than I care to admit, that titanium does not go over the top of the crown anymore, so it's not going to protect you from that skied shot. But it's a more traditionally painted line. Looks way cleaner. Just has a better look. I think more traditional, better players are really going to like that look on this driver. It really does kind of clean it up, and then you'll have the carbon crown right on the top of it. So you'll have kind of a matte blue, or it'll be either matte black or matte blue. They're making two colors in the heads again. These ones here are both the navy heads, and I think I've got a MAC somewhere in the matte and orange. But they really did do a nice job. It looks really good. They've got that, like I said, the crown, especially on the blue one, is kind of this blue carbon fiber. It's kind of finished in that. It's a glossy carbon fiber with a matte finish with a blue matte finish around it. The black one's got kind of a matte black finish. You can kind of see the carbon weave through it, and then it's matte black painted around. So the whole thing's kind of matte colored. Personally, I kind of like the blue. It's something a little different with the mix and match. And it's a pretty traditional shape. It's a little stretched out front to back, and the back of it's just got a little bit of pointiness to it, but it's not too bad. It definitely has a Cobra look, but it's not anything horrible. It's not anything that's distracting or out of this world. It really is a clean Cobra look, and I think it's definitely better than, when you look at it, I think it's definitely better than Rad Speed, definitely a little better than Speed Zone. I think it's just cleaner, easier to look at, and I think better players are going to appreciate that. So, it's got a bunch of new technology in it, which, I mean, you'd expect. It's it's a driver, but they've got a hot face And I'm trying to remember what hot mean. It was basically something about kind of a topographical design. And what they did was inside behind the face are basically 15 pads, if you want to call it that, little squares inside the head behind it, and they basically make them thinner or thicker depending on how they need the face to flex. So they'll take some of the pads in the center, make them the thickest because that part of the face is the hottest, and then they'll thin out some of the pads as they go out to kind of increase that ball speed and things like that when you miss it. And it's just kind of a unique design. It's basically a newer version of their S9 that they used to do, which was kind of similar with 9 spots behind the face. This one's now got 15, which is pretty wild. And they definitely have made a driver that's super. It's pretty good looking. It sounds good. It feels good, and it definitely goes. It's definitely not a driver that lacks difference. That's for sure. Another thing, of course, they did, their power core technology, which you can kind of see in the front. It's got the little power core weight up there, so they've added some mass low and towards the front of the head. I think it's like 19 grams or something like that. And then basically it moves some weight forward to kind of help reduce spin and things like that. And I'll transfer more energy to the ball. So I got to go out and hit these out in Arizona. And it was pretty cool. They had a big thing set up. There were tons of people there, everybody from, Instagram influencers all the way to, lowly guys like myself in the media. And then they even had, 2 guys like Kyle Berkshire and Bryson there, which was pretty cool. So before Bryson and Kyle kind of got there and did their thing, it was basically we went through our presentations, all that. I think we had some lunch, and then it was out on the range to hit balls. And I hit a lot of golf balls, but got out there. The first thing, of course, everybody wanted to do was hit driver, and this year they've got 3 drivers. So we've got the LTDx, which is kind of the main line, the LTDx, and the LS, which is this one here, which is the 2 forward weights. So weights that are up near the face, 2 kind of removable, interchangeable weights. On this head here, they're 3 and 10 degrees. So the 10 is kind of set in the draw position, and the 3 is over in kind of the toe or fade position. And you can switch those out, move them around. But this is basically the low spin head, the low launching head, and the head that they've actually, even arrow-wise, kind of designed a little more for faster club head speed. So this is kind of the one that Bryson's going to be playing. And this one's designed for players who, carry a ton of club head speed. They'll see a little more aerodynamic effect from what they explain. It's the shortest from front to back. It's got probably the most rounded look to it, the most traditional look to it. It's definitely going to be the least forgiving, but for those players who are, high swing speed, want to work the ball, need the low spin, low launch, the King LTDx LS is that head, and LS, of course, low spin. Excuse me. The next one in the line would be, and the LS basically replaces the Rad Speed from last year. So it basically, Rad Speed I thought was kind of a low launching, low spinning head. I thought it launched a little too low personally. So LTDx LS replaces Rad Speed, and then there is LTDx Max, which is the biggest head. It does have 2 movable weights, one in the back, one in the heel, so you could set it up for draw, set it up a little more neutral. That one is basically going to be much higher launching, have kind of a low, mid-low spin, and definitely launch the highest out of the 3, and that replaces the Rad Speed XB. And then it also replaces the Rad Speed, the draw version as well, so it kind of replaces both. They kind of took both those heads, combined them into one, and then they made the LTDx, which is the one here with the single rear weight, and that's going to be your low spin, mid-launching, but high forgiveness head. So for the player who, brings a little bit of heat, can swing the club decently, doesn't need a lot of help hitting it higher, but still needs low spin and still needs some forgiveness, there you go. And the shape is a little different. I mean, when you set the 2 next to each other, the LS definitely is, like I said, from face to back, shorter, a little longer, a little more stretched out in the LTDx. And basically, those are the 2 I hit. We had the LTDx Max there, but when I went in to do my kind of fitting, which was right before I was just kind of let loose in the range. When I did my fitting, we started hitting. The guy was talking about kind of, how's your game? What's your game like? Where's your misses? Whatever. And I kind of told him, like, you're going to see some stuff go left, and it's probably going to make you nauseous. And he kind of laughed, and he was like, okay. And I hit some good balls, and I did. I hit some draws. I hit some stuff out there, but like and I didn't bring my I brought a gamer, but it wasn't there. Like I brought my Sim 2 Max, but it wasn't there. It was back at the hotel. So I didn't bring my gamer to compare. We just basically started hitting these drivers. So I started hitting the LTDx and saw some really good numbers. I was kind of shocked how good it was. We started off with Ventus Black, went to Ventus Red, even Ventus Blue, and we kind of went back and forth between blue and red, to be honest. But the biggest thing that this thing, I mean, center strikes went a long ways. Had a ton of ball speed, really low spin. I think I was, basically that like 22, 23, 24. I mean, like right around 2,300 RPM for the most part on center struck, well struck shots. They went a long ways. They launched fairly high, and the ball speed was really good. I mean, it was, for me, if I get into the kind of that like mid to higher 150s, I'm super happy. Like that's as good as I'm ever going to hit it, or at least right now, unless I started like working out or something. But if I'm in that like the like mid, slightly above mid 150s, I'm super happy. I'm good, and that's pretty much where I was. And hitting center shots is that they were low spin, but the biggest thing is that they stayed on line. I mean, everything. I mean, I hit a couple to the left that went way left, but it was, that was my swing. That was me kind of coming over the top, shut face, smothering it, hitting it left. That's just me. But everything else, I was hitting pretty good. And then we definitely hit the LTDx LS, but it was like one of those that on good strikes, I was, hovering around basically 2,000 RPM, and I even had a couple at 1,900. And I just couldn't keep the ball in the air at my ball speed. I just wasn't. I would have had to go up to a way higher loft. But the LTD LS is really good. I mean, like I said, the look of it's great. It sits pretty open. I was hitting a 10.5 head. We were kind of moving it up, and eventually the face did become kind of shut because we had to put so much loft on it in order to counteract the fact that it had no spin. That it just didn't work out for me. But the sound and feel of it's really good. The face, much like Rad Speed and Speed Zone, that CNC'd face. You could definitely feel the ball compress and jump off the face. And honestly, the LS was not as punishing as I thought it would be. I mean, I definitely saw more movement right to left compared to with the LTDx. But it really, the ball stayed on line much better than I thought. I thought for sure that as soon as I hit one out on the toe or hit one low heel, we were going to see some weak little cuts to the right, or big snap hooky draws, and it really didn't. I was kind of amazed. I mean, if you looked at dispersion, it was definitely greater with the LS than the LTDx. But again, like I said, if it was one of those, like if I had to play it, I probably could. I could probably get away with it. But thankfully, there's the LTDx, and it is definitely more forgiving. But if if you are that player who's super high spin, high swing speed, super high spin, looking for something that still offers a little bit of forgiveness, you don't want, you don't need an SLDR 430. This thing here, the LTD XLS really is, I think, a good option for those players who do hit it high, hit it with a lot of spin, and don't want to forego all forgiveness to get those spin and launch numbers down. It's definitely a good option there. And with their fitting, their sleeve adjustment, they can go down to like 7.5, I think, in that head. So it's pretty low launching. You can get pretty crazy with how low that'll go. I just want to check. Excuse me. I think it's. Yeah, I think it's. Yeah, you can go 9, so you can go down to I think 7.5 on that head, which is pretty wild. So 7.5 and all the way up to 10.5. So for a 9-degree head, I mean, if somebody needs a pretty low launching driver, I don't think there's too many heads lower than 7.5 out there, which is pretty wild. But that was, like I said, really good, a great option for those players. But for me, it wasn't quite what I needed. But the LTDx actually worked out really well because it really did offer a really good amount of forgiveness. I remember the first I hit a bunch of bad shots, but the first bad shot I hit it and just hit it kind of right off the toe. Just kind of came, as I came down, club came in, just hit it high. I got steep, hit it, high off the toe, and the thing kind of went out. And I didn't even watch the shot. I was just like, oh, that's just garbage. And the guy doing the fitting had his iPad there, and he goes, that really wasn't that bad. And I was like, what do you mean it wasn't that bad? I'm like, that thing was hit horribly. I'm like, I was probably inch and a half away from center, da-da-da-da. And the guy was like, that's pretty good. And he turned it around, and I was blown away. It was like, I think it was like 149 ball speed. Of course, it was the spin was low. It was high in the face. And like the carry on it was like 220 something. And I was like, how did that ball carry 220 yards or whatever it was on a shot that I hit that badly? And it stayed online. It was not anywhere near where I thought it would be. I thought the thing would be just blown so far right that it was towed, and it was like pretty much right on line. I was shocked at how close it was on line. I hit a couple of those balls that I was just like, nope, that's not any good. And the guy every time would be like, it's better than you think. And every time I was shocked that it carried as much ball speed as it did. So everything high toe still carries a good amount of ball speed. I was really shocked of how far this thing went. But the other thing, they just went straight. They didn't go anywhere. And not going anywhere. They just didn't curve. Like everything stayed straight, unless I literally made such a bad swing that I just hammered it left, which I can definitely do it. But it was such a good. It was just such a good. The misses were just so good. They just stayed on line. I was really impressed. I was really happy with the way that went. And then, like I said, we went from Venice red to blue to black. We kind of went between the three, and found that actually Venice blue worked the best, which was pretty funny. It was the Venice black. I would hit dead straight, but I would kind of miss it. My dispersion was just slightly right. Left was my dispersion was just or red. My dispersion was just slightly left of target, and blue was like right down the center. It was so weird to see. So I basically went into 10-5 head with Ventus Blue 6X was what I got fit into. And like I said, on good shots, spin was just a little bit lower than Stealth Plus for me. Or I'm sorry, Stealth for me. The Stealth Plus was probably around the similar. But in terms of ball speed and dispersion, I think dispersion-wise, Stealth might slightly have the edge for me on LTDx in terms of 2 range sessions. I got to get them on the course, which unfortunately is going to happen for a little bit. But the LTDx, like I said, I think carried a little farther on those mishits for me. And both of them stayed on line really, really well. So Stealth and this are really going to kind of have a kind of a little bit of a battle for a while. And then, like I said, I really want to hit the Rogue Max LS to see. I think that one there being the more forgiving, still lower spin head is going to be really good. But like I said, the LTDx I'm really impressed with. Sound and feel is really good. It's got that it's got a metallic sound when it leaves. It kind of has that ting to it, but it's very muted. It's got kind of a mix of a ting and a crack to it, and it's just got that Cobra sound. If you've hit, a rad speed or a speed zone or something like that, anything in the last, couple of years from Cobra, the sound and feel is going to be really familiar. Definitely not loud at all. And like I said, they feel pretty good too. I mean, they're responsive. You can feel the ball kind of compress off the face. If you miss it toe heel, you're definitely going to feel just a little bit more vibration, a little firmer feel. You're going to know you missed it, off that face. But again, the shots, away from center, and by far, and like I said, far away from center, just held a lot of ball speed. It was really, really impressive to see. So I'm excited to get that thing out there on the course and actually hit it. Again, I've got to kind of toss some Club Connects screws in there and get that going. I really don't want to cut down this Ventus TR, but I guess I can switch over to All Fit and start doing that. But excuse me, I got to get some new shafts and do those up. But like I said, these things definitely right now, if I had to choose a gamer, gun to my head, I think LTDx would probably be my gamer right now. And I would probably pair that with a Ventus Blue, maybe this TR again if I got to try it, but that is a little ways away, or not a little ways away, but it will happen. I just need to get that thing done up. But like I said, LTDx, Cobra, I think Cobra this year, and like I said, I didn't hit the max only because even though it has kind of like a neutral weight setting, it still is, when you set down all 3 heads, the LS head, definitely the most open, kind of flared open 2-3 degrees. The LTDx head looks like it sits about a degree open, maybe slightly more, and then the max head definitely sits dead square. But as I was talking to the fitter, he's like, that thing still inherently has like a little bit of draw to it, even in the neutral setting. So, there's really was no reason to hit it. And we were hitting the launch number I needed for that I kind of needed or was going for. We hit it in the LTDx. So there's really no reason to go to a higher launching head and go down go down in loft, go to a Ventus Black, a little, heavier shaft. We just kind of found the LTDx worked really well. So the max is there, but like I said, feel on them really good. I think this year's LTDx LS, I think they're going to kind of have a little cult following, kind of like the original LTD. I mean, remember that one there, the black and orange, had the big spaceport on the bottom. I think that thing had a really big cult following with the guys who did hit it, absolutely loved it. It performed awesome, and it was low spin and forgiving. I mean, it was just one of those combos. I think this is here too. So I think a lot of players who, when they try it, are going to be really surprised. And I think Cobra's going to have a big year. I think they're really going to have a big year. I think they're going to surprise some people. So if you haven't tried a Cobra driver in a while, definitely check out one of the LTDXs. Whether it's the LS, the X, or the Max. They're really good, and I think you'll be really impressed with the numbers you see. So overall, pretty excited. Like I said, I got to hit some new stuff, got to play, and then hitting the Cobra stuff a little while ago was always nice. So. That's what I've got. Like I said, I'm excited to get out and play some more. I want to get some more range time. I want to get some of the shafts in these things. I got to try some more stuff. I need more time. That's all I need. I just need more time. But I just don't have it. So that's all I've got this week. Like I said, if you get a chance, February 1st, TR should be in your fitter shops, your local authorized shops, or around that. I don't know when they'll be in stores, but LTDx, LTDx LS, LTDx Max, definitely worth trying when they show up because I think you'll be impressed. So that's all I've got. Hopefully you guys have a great weekend. Enjoy it. Hopefully you can play some golf. I unfortunately will not be going to golf. I'll unfortunately be going to Sesame Street Live, but it's all right. My daughter will love it. So anyway, everybody have a good day or a good weekend. Be safe, and we'll talk to you next week.